Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into Bill Gates' recent, super revealing thoughts on global tech, human progress, and the massive transformations happening literally right before our eyes. We've taken his incredible insights from recent conversations and structured them into a blueprint of sorts. So, what exactly does Bill Gates see as the next major global revolution? Well, to answer that massive question, we're going to look at his unique take on how artificial intelligence, the absolute explosion of Indian innovation, and what he calls a maniacal work ethic are fundamentally shaping our collective future. To keep things moving, we're breaking this down into 5 key pillars: India's innovation ecosystem, the global talent capital, navigating the AI revolution, solving global health challenges, and finally, the visionary mindset. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, India's innovation ecosystem, from health challenges to high-tech invention. The sheer breadth of what India is building right now is just mind-blowing. Historically, Gates Foundation focused on immediate health challenges there, right? But today, that whole narrative has shifted. India's driving deep product research. We're talking better agricultural seeds, advanced health diagnostics, and cutting-edge AI for health and education. It's a massive global shift. They're actually creating open-source digital public infrastructure, like identity and digital money systems, and actively helping African nations adopt them. It's a real game changer. Moving right along to Section 2, the global talent capital, the magic combination. 20%. That's the portion of the entire world's population currently living in India. That scale alone is incredible, but Gates points out that their real advantage isn't just about population volume. It actually comes down to a very specific, deeply ingrained focus on education. And this perfectly illustrates the formula that massive tech companies worldwide are desperately looking for. India has put a huge emphasis on top-tier engineering and deep software expertise through institutions like the IITs, but here is the secret sauce. When you pair that brilliant engineering mind with advanced management skills, you get what Gates calls a magic combination. It's exactly why we're seeing incredibly effective global leaders emerge, like Microsoft's Satya Nadella and Google Sundar Pichai. Okay, let's shift gears to Section 3, navigating the AI revolution, the new frontier. Now, Gates draws a fascinating parallel here between the past and the present. Back in the early Microsoft days, he faced a ton of skepticism. People literally thought the idea of putting a computer on every single desk was crazy. They just couldn't grasp the exponential improvement of microchips. Well, today, he looks at the AI era and sees the exact same pattern, except this time, the possibilities for exponential improvement are practically unlimited. He deeply believes that AI is the definitive change agent of our time. It's his modern-day equivalent to the computing boom. But he does admit one crucial difference. Getting out in front to build the next Microsoft or Apple, it's significantly tougher now. The computing fields used to be tiny. Today, you're up against massive, incredibly well-funded global competition, with dominant models coming from everywhere, including some highly competitive tech companies in China. So where is the actionable potential for AI right now? Well, Gates specifically highlights mental health care. He points out that we'll honestly never have enough human therapists to go around, so building AI companions to help handle mild symptoms is a huge opportunity. And his advice to us is clear. Even if you don't know how to code, you absolutely have to become an adept user of AI. Whether it's accelerating your creative work or advancing disease diagnostics, your job is to figure out how to bridge AI into your specific industry. That brings us to Section 4, Solving Global Health Challenges, the Philanthropic Mission. Now, the historical progress we've made is undeniable. The child death rate in India has plummeted to a third of what it used to be. But the reality beneath that, it's still pretty stark. That rate is still almost 3 times higher than in rich countries. For Gates, closing this glaring inequality gap remains a primary, unyielding target for his foundation's resources. He breaks down the specific scientific and social roadblocks holding us back. Take malnutrition, for example. It's not just about hunger. It actually causes tragic, permanent brain underdevelopment if it happens in the first year of life. Gates argues we need urgent biological and diagnostic innovations to fix this. When it comes to obesity, he leans into technology over sheer willpower, pointing to upcoming, cheaper GLP-1 drugs as the most promising scientific solution. And for complex social issues like sanitation, he says progress really relies on government focus, like India's aspirational district programs, and developing deep, on-the-ground empathy. And this leads to an incredibly bold prediction. Gates actually expects polio to be entirely eradicated within 5 years. Just think about that for a second. If we pull that off, polio becomes only the second disease in human history, after smallpox in 1980, to be completely wiped off the face of the earth. He believes that victory will give humanity the immense credibility and momentum we need to go aggressively after malaria and measles next. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, the visionary mindset, lessons from a maniac. Gates is pretty candid here. He admits that to win the check race in his 20s, he essentially chose to be a maniac. He operated with a radically narrow focus, literally working up to 72 hours straight and just crashing in the office. With no wife or kids to divide his attention at the time, he honestly believed that to advance software faster than anyone else, that level of total, almost absurd obsession was absolutely the right thing to do. But his blueprint for young people today is much more well-rounded. Sure, he advises working intensely when you're young and don't have heavy responsibilities. But equally important is step 2, actively develop empathy. He suggests simply traveling an hour or two outside your normal bubble just to witness inequality firsthand. And step 3, which he says was a massive part of his own success, maintain an insatiable appetite for learning. Basically, be a constant, brutal student of the world to stay sharp. Interestingly, despite having vast, almost unimaginable resources, his biggest fear isn't losing his wealth or his power. As he approaches his 70s, his ultimate fear is actually the natural aging and declining capability of his brain. It's the terrifying thought of losing that sheer desire to pick up a 500-page book and devour new information. Which leaves us with a final, provocative thought to take away from our explainer today. If the man who literally helped invent the digital world fears a stagnant mind above all else, how are you actively exercising your curiosity today? How are you pushing your own brain to learn something new right now to prepare for the massive revolutions of tomorrow? Think about that for a bit. Thanks for tuning in, and keep learning.